Again, Zachary Kepes, Zach Ventures. I'm going to talk about the keys to how I grew my business, where I came from, what my background is, what didn't work out before. I've been through the recession. So I started in 2002. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I have a twin sister. I'm a dog advocate. Right now, just being vulnerable. My dad is very, very ill, and so I'm very sensitive right now. So my mind's a little crazy, but I'm all about you'll see, consultation, transparency. I'm flying home maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure, but like to be here and also take my mind off of stuff. Like I believe in everything just to, disclose and be transparent and look people in line. Just be real and authentic. You never have to fake something. You never know what anyone is going through. And I can pick up on the energy, and energy is a huge part of my business. I all think we have this greater capacity than we believe that we're capable of. So, again, from Detroit, I'm a hustler. You're from the Southeast. We got people from all over the world. We got Diego from Texas and amazing individuals in here. And I think the commonality is the grind. Why did I choose Arizona? Because I recognize there's a huge opportunity for growth politically, economics in terms of pricing. When I moved out in 2002, prices were extremely low. So when I did my research, I didn't know what vertical I was going to be in. And I said, Arizona sounds amazing. I was multilingual. I think that's a great skill, by the way, for people to have to differentiate yourself. I'm sure who else is multilingual or trilingual in here at all? A couple people. In your downtime, I would tell you to learn another language. So many people respect the fact that you can communicate with them. I'm sure in Spanish, for sure, obviously you're bilingual. When I start speaking to my Hispanic tenants and they don't speak English, we bond. We become family immediately. So to respect everyone's culture and learn about people's cultures is a huge key to my success. Again, dog, I've done the Ironman multiple times. It sounds like a couple people in here want to get into it, and we can talk about that tonight too. But really, it's about going the distance. And a commonality and a theme that we're going to talk about is playing a game of chess versus checkers, right? Going the long game. So many people, especially in the last couple of years in real estate, want to make, Kyle can attest, quick money. Oh, it's easy. I'm going to jump in. When wind is at your back, anybody can be successful, right? Wind pushing at you. You can throw a dart at the wall, and if the whole wall is the dartboard, you're going to be successful. You can't miss. But really, what value add are you bringing? What enhancements are you doing? What relationships you have? Or are you just lucky because you stepped in at the right time? So what you're going to see is when wind is coming at you and you have a parachute when you're running across the track, how are you getting stronger? How are you adapting? What value are you providing? Why do people want to do business with you? Again, one of my questions to Diego and other people, and ask yourselves tonight is, how are you different? How are you differentiating yourselves? Or are you just following the crowd? I consider myself an anomaly. We're really going to get into that. I want to make sure you guys are all the anomalies, because a lot of people listen or you hear what general people say or what we talked about the other night, influencers and all this stuff that they're talking about. But I believe a lot of that's a hot air balloon. You can poke it and it explodes. There's nothing really tangible within that balloon. So make sure what the stuff that you hear, you you vet it, you understand it, and you become unique to yourself, what's important to you, and you follow your own way around the track. There's the beautiful Ironman. So again, something about the Ironman, just like investments, you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to become an Ironman. You say in your mind, I want to train for the Ironman. I'm going to do it. It's all mental. And what's interesting is when I started the Ironman training was during the recession. Why? I had all this time, right? If prices are coming down, you don't necessarily want to buy in a down market, and we'll get into that. But I had a lot of time to work on myself. And we're going to talk about my bank accounts today and how I always want to talk about playing and adding credits to my personal account before my business account. And we're going to really get into this whole mentality, which I think is really important. So I wake up every day and I say to myself, I'm dead broke. If I don't, capture some fish or kill a deer, I'm not eating today. Same thing. If I'm not buying a house, I'm not adding value, I'm not going to make any money. And so that's the business account. In the personal account, which I think is the most important, we can all agree that if you have all the money in the world, but you're sick as a dog, it's not worth anything. So number one, your health is your wealth. So before everything else, and every time I get on stage, I talk, all of a sudden I divert, I say, hey, I want to make sure that what's the number one addiction in the world? People say heroin, drugs, this and that. Sugar, exactly. It's crazy. So you take care of your body, you take care of your mind, you take care of your physicality. That's adding the credits to your personal account every single day. When you take care of yourself, your energy is at its max and you're going to connect with other people. People are going to be attracted to it and they want to do business with you, and you're going to feel good. And it's a magnetism. And that's really, when we talk about my differentiating factor, people talk about my energy, my ability to be present and to listen and truly digest and really want to know and probe those questions about, 29 years old, the Dove man, real estate agent. I could break it down very quickly, and it's fun and it's engaging, and that's a differentiating factor. So you want to make sure, again, in the morning, I want to eat something healthy. This is just me, what works for me. So I'm talking about my bank account and adding to my personal account on a daily basis. Set the tone for the day, right? You don't want to get on the phone if you're cold calling or engaging in clients if you're feeling at 40%. Now, vulnerably, I probably feel 50 or 60% because of what's transpiring in my life, but I'm conveying that to you, but the energy is coming to me. We're like, I'm amped up right now, the push-ups and getting going. When I drove here, I was listening to good music. So what are those inputs that are crediting you to bring, no matter how you feel, to bring your max value, regardless of the circumstances in your life? And I think that's really important. So no matter what's happening, you can somewhat compartmentalize, but still show the fuck up, right? 80% is showing up and giving it your best, and that's all we can do. And and you can look in the mirror saying, I got myself ready today. How did I get ready for this today? Well, I could have took a nap, got a massage, did some basic stuff, but that's going to give me the low energy. I am a huge advocate of the cold plunge. I worked out for 2 hours a day. I took my dog for a 1 hour walk. I was clearing my head. I was digesting what I needed to digest, adding to the health as wealth credits to bring my highest mental and physical self, which is key. Again, when you have that positive energy, when we talk about OPM and raising money or just doing business in general, when people see that energy and see that success and see that magnetism, it attracts other people. It's no different than you teaching your mentees and why they want to do business with you, because what you put out, you get back 100 times over. That's giving to charity. It's energy. It's just the rule of attraction. It's the law of attraction and energy, period. So that's why I believe, number one, your health is your wealth again, and that's the most important thing. The energy, contagiousness, it catches like wildfire. Again, it's a magnet. People want to be around you. They want to do business with you. Have you ever been on a phone call? I've been called a million times a day. Kyle's group. Hey, I'm a realtor with so-and-so and I'm interested in a property. What the fuck? That's so low energy. I'm not even captivated. Like, Zach, how you doing? And could be driving. I wake up. Think about your energy and engagement and conversation, every single thing that you do. Even like, it was weird. Today I'm at the gym and someone says, Zach, you're like the mayor of the gym. And I don't really think about it. When you walk with me to the gym, I know 90% of the members, from the oldest people to the youngest, because I'm curious. I engage them. Hey, nice shoes. Hey, what are you working on today? Hey, what's going on? Some people are so internal or looking at Instagram on your phone and you're not being present around you. That's negative energy. So what's the energy that you're projecting? Are you positive? Are you attracting the right people? And the other thing is, and again, I love to listen. I love learning. Just in a brief moment, I wish I heard more of your stuff. I want to go back and listen to it and hear all of your stories. It's just so important to, ask the engaging questions and be around like-minded people that don't want to just tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you don't want to hear. Those are your real friends. So many people hang around with people, oh, you look great today. And you feel like shit and you look terrible. And one of your buddies like, bro, you got a bug in your right nose. I appreciate that. Or, hey, man, you look disheveled. You could really get a haircut or showing up. I can appreciate. Those are the people you want to be around, not the people that are the yes people, the people that want to coach you and elevate you, and just you want to reciprocate that to them as well. That's super important. Clear mind, clear investments. I really find that if I'm super stressed, maybe in the next week or two, I may not buy anything. I have no stress about, I don't have to buy, I want to buy. And I've accumulated, as Jesse said, 257 homes, $100 million plus valuation in individual. I don't have any investors. That's my own personal portfolio by investing for 20 plus years, coming out here and starting with zero. I didn't come from going back to my background a little bit and jumping around. I came from a middle-class family. I wasn't poor. I respect people that came from nothing and they built themselves up. That's incredible. But you tell it like it is. I was blessed to be socialized in an entrepreneurial environment. I know your dad's an entrepreneur. He spoke the other day. I love seeing that familial dynamic. I'm sure you learn a lot from him and he inspires you, and I'm sure you inspire him. Dad told me he's super proud of me. It was like one of the greatest days ever because he was a great attorney and super smart, and all I wanted to do was get his approval. But I didn't want to be an attorney. I want to be authentic to me. I was an entrepreneur. My grandfathers are entrepreneurs. It's in our DNA. That's why we're here. When I say, what kind of business are you in? Everybody knows what you're passionate about. And to wake up every day and be excited about opportunities and engagements and meeting, you're good. Throw them. I know you're excited. And to be excited about opportunities is really the key to success. So we talk about passive income. When I realized early on I was flipping these houses and I was using OPM, and we'll get into that, I realized that I was flipping these houses, but the market kept appreciating. So I'm selling, then I make 20,000. But what I realized, if I look back in 2020, we can always see clearly I should have held these doors. So what I started to do is I diverted from flipping to, hey, every time I flip 4 or 5 and I had enough cash, I buy one for myself. Keep going, 4 or 5, buy one for myself. And I realized, hey, I can go to the gym and sit there and people start zelling me and sending me money. And that's the greatest life ever. So when you talk about passive income, you could be anywhere you want in the world as long as you set from the foundation, one relationship, one home at a time. And that's how I built the portfolio. I didn't come in here and buy a tranche of 100 homes. Every home I got is through a strategic relationship, from a long-term relationship. For me, and one of the major points I like to make tonight is it's not a numbers game, guys. It's a relationship game. Everything is around relationships. So many people are saying, I want you to make 200 calls a day. If I'm your coach, I'd rather have you make 5 to 10 calls a day and stay on the phone with those people for 30 to 45 minutes. Slow it down and ask good, consultative, engaging questions. Not about business. Who are they? What are you interested in? Where's your accent from? One of my greatest hacks, right, when I'm talking to somebody right away is, oh, you're not from around here. And all of a sudden it opens the conversation, right? It's not like, hey, do you have any distressed real estate for sale? Where are you from? Oh, that's cool. Oh, you're from Atlanta. I used to live there. Oh, you're from New York. I used to live there. Oh, you're from Spain. And then, oh, hablas español también. Qué bueno. El mundo es un pueblo, or whatever. So exactly. So everyone's so focused on chasing the money will come naturally and organically through great strategic relationships, being authentic to who you are, and truly desiring and wanting to know about those people. Think about not making those one calls and assuming you're never going to talk to them again. I could have just 10 people on my phone right now and run my business and buy 100 homes next year. No problem. But I'm not a complacent person. That's another thing I want to convey. Complacency doesn't exist. We brought it up a little bit the other day in my vocabulary. Every day, just like when the wind is at your back, you could be complacent. You're making this money. Again, you're playing checkers, not chess. But I want to be stronger and more handsome and more intelligent and around the best people. So every day is just as you don't need to be here. But yes, I do, because again, I'm not growing if I'm not being in the right rooms and meeting the next LeBron James, the next Diegos, the next Jessies, and everybody here. And I believe in all of you. So when I show up at these seminars and there's all these other speakers back there talking about their net worths and how great they are, I just put my headphones on and I want to be in the crowd and I want to meet the people that are hungry, because a lot of those people are complacent or they're arrogant. I kind of, the first thing is, oh, talk about yourself. I hate talking about myself. I like talking about what works. And then I want to get engagement and consultative into why you're here and how we can do business or enhance your business or streamline. That's really what it's all about. I think it's a bunch of business. Hey, I'm here and tell you how great I am. I have all this money. Nobody cares how much money. I talked about this other day. My legacy is not how well I build and how much zeros I have in my account. Nobody cares. It has zero impact on any of your lives. What you care about is, do we connect? Do we have good energy? What's the impact? My legacy is, how can I, transcend and modify the trajectory of your lives and your family's lives. If I can have one small impact on that, that's the greatest legacy in the world. Again, not the money. So super important. Respect. So many people in business, they forget, use the term we. I love that. I listen. That's great. I didn't get where I have today by myself. I've had an amazing team, and I do have an amazing team. And it's through those relationships and respect of my contractors, my tenants, my bankers, my title companies, my agents. It's a cohesive team. And so there's no I in team, and treating people like family. So at the end of the day, a very simple motto I go by is, if you're renting to your mother, your granddaughter, your brother, sister, mother, whoever, and would you treat them the same way you're treating whoever you're doing business with? Treat them like family. It's so easy. If you slow down and listen to them. I'm walking today, and one of the guys in the slides, one of the largest mall developers in the world, and he's my neighbor. And I grabbed a phone call, and he's like, dude, you're believable on the phone. And I'm like, well, why do you say that? He goes, you're so calm, you listen, you slow it down. Again, some of them people are so quick and think you just got to grab the phone and just be done quickly. Listen to them. They're always going to convey what's important to them and say, hey, what's going on? Is everything else good? How's your family? You ever ask your tenants how your family is? There is no hedge funds out there. All these big funds that have billions of dollars of properties, Blackstones, they have zero relationships with their tenants. They don't even know who they are. They treat them like, and we'll get into it, annuities of income. They do not treat them like family. If you treat people like family, they will help elevate you. You're going to get the referrals. You're going to get a high rate of retention. It's a very simple theory. And you know how you treat somebody. You can look in the mirror. You know how your energy is, your respect, your eye contact. It's a very simple thing. So think about, again, if you're not treating them like family, they ain't going to treat you like family, or your property or whatever business you're in. I can guarantee that. So that's for sure. Being a guarantee. That was my biggest thing. When I came out here and didn't know anybody, I had to show up. I had to persuade them belly to belly that I'm going to buy this house. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not some intermediary. I'm going to shake hands. I'm a Midwest kind of guy, a shake hand, a verbal. I'm a guarantee. If you're not conveying that and you don't have the confidence in your voice, we talked about before, raising private money or buying deals or anything that you're doing, if you're not confident in yourself and you don't have that high energy to be a guarantee, they're not going to believe it. And make sure you execute, because as soon as you screw one deal or you don't perform, you're over. Every single deal, and I bought over 4,000 plus deals that I bought, I've closed on. I've never backed out for any reason. Nothing, unless the house burned down. Of course, something material happened through an act of God. In that respect, of course, you can back out. But I'm a guarantee. I want you to be a guarantee to the people you love, your relationships, your family. That's it. Like I could sit there. I don't know when my dad's going to go, but I want to be a guarantee for my mom, my two sisters, myself, and of course my dad, and be there for him, in the toughest moments of our life. So if you're not a guarantee, you got nothing. It's super important. Under promise, over deliver. I put a lot of money in my house. I say, I'm going to make this look good. And I'll always put a little pizzazz extra on top because it's your branding, right? I'm talking about my long-term rental portfolio. So if a tenant comes in and they see it during the remodel, I'll give them a generalization. And when they walk in that house, when it's done and the wife's crying because the kitchen and the appliances are brand new, you didn't tell them you're putting in brand new appliances, you got a tenant for life. And then you got all of their families. Spend the money to make the money. So many people are short-sighted about putting Band-Aids on stuff, and which you'll see, I do full surgery and it pays massive dividends. Again, consultative. I always ask people, what do you need? How can I help you? It's not about you guys. So many people are quick to talk first, just like in negotiations. Listen, ask the questions. They're going to tell you what they want. They're going to tell you what they need. So slow it down, ask the questions, and respond. When you talk about Diego, you're a differentiating factor of coming up with solutions. I'm very similar in the sense that there's not a problem. There's problems in every business, but there's always a solution to that problem. So what's the issue? How can we solve it together, right? And people love that. We're going to get to the finish line. Again, going the distance, which is the theme, slowing it down. If we have to take a diversion, if we have diarrhea because the stuff that we're, eating on the Ironman has affected our stomachs, we're going to wash it down. It's a 12-hour race. We're going to get through it. There's always hardships and trials and tribulations, but stay the course. Right now, you'll see there's a lot of attrition in real estate. People are getting out. Oh, it's hard because they didn't make money for a month. Shit, most people go a year before they get their first deal or whatever it is. So those of us that stay, persevere. Those of us that work through, again, in an Ironman, I can tell you firsthand, there's moments where you feel like I'm going to win the race. It's amazing. I'm an amateur. I think I'm going straight to Kona, to Hawaii, which is like the elite of the elite. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, my cramp. I think I'm not going to finish this race. But the moral of the story is one foot in front of the other, keep moving forward at all expenses, and it's going to pass. As they say, this too shall pass. It will pass. You got to keep moving forward on the right trajectory. And I love this. Are you curious enough? Are you just all about yourselves and how great you are? Or are you curious about other people? And be genuinely curious. Ask the questions. And remember, if you weren't curious and I didn't care, I wouldn't remember all that stuff, right? Always ask questions. Ask more questions. Very simple. Taking the call. It's crazy to me. There's so many agents out there, even in today's market. You call them, voicemail. 30 minutes later, you call them, voicemail, and maybe get a text. Could you text me? I'm busy. You're too busy to sell your client's house. You're too busy to take a call. Anyone who knows me, they call me. If I'm not there, I'll call you right back, and it's going to be a FaceTime. So one of my strong suits is I believe business is cultivated belly to belly, face to face. When I went around early on and didn't know anybody, I didn't sit behind my desk and fearful of behind the phone. Hi, are you interested in selling real estate? Fuck no. I got out of the office. I drove in the field to see who's buying what. I introduced myself to them. I told them I guarantee I got capital behind me. How can we do business and have a good time? Very simple. How can we have fun together? How can I enhance your life? How can we make a few bucks together, celebrate those successes? And we're going to have a belly to belly, face to face relationship. Anything you need at any time, you call me. And that's my mentality going back to the family and respect. All my guys know, anyone that knows me, if there's ever a need or a capital need or a hardship or a medical emergency, you call me, no questions asked, I got your back. People love that, they respect that, and they will reciprocate. Okay. One thing I will caution, this is an interesting story. You always have to divide business and family time. One thing that I'll say vulnerably, and I think that's a great way of impacting connection is, I just turned 44. and I have a girlfriend now, whatever. But I fucked up so many relationships because I was chasing the deal. I can say it, I admit it, and I don't want to see you guys make the same mistakes. So many times, oh, Zach, are we doing dinner tonight? I'm like, fuck, I just got this great opportunity. Hey, can we postpone 2 hours? And the girl's already dressed and ready. That's so rude. That's disrespectful. If the deal's still going to be there and the people love doing business with you, they're going to hold the deal. Say, hey, man, with all due respect, I have a prior commitment. Could you I'll get back to you in the morning. The old Zach goes, I'll be right out there. How do I get access? Is there flashlights? Is there power on? Right? So be present with the people you love and don't make those same mistakes. Maybe I have a few zeros or a few $1 million less to my net worth, but maybe I'd be married and have kids because that's one of my biggest goals, right? So being single, and at 44 and wanting a family, who cares I have all this money? If you don't have someone to enjoy that with, think about the goals, right? Think about the opportunities in front of you. And another story is I used to have 2 phones because I never want to miss a call. My phone was blowing up. No joke. I'd walk around. This is Zach. Hold on. Zach, hold on. I got 4 people on hold. One night I'm at dinner with my sister and brother-in-law. I swear to God, we're eating. There was an old restaurant in Scottsdale with ribs and hamburgers and all this stuff and good sports restaurant in Old Town Scottsdale. They shut it down. So we're there. We order the food. This is Zach, and they're not going to hold on 1 second. I'm putting my head down doing calls. I noticed my sister. I think she went to the bathroom. Then my brother-in-law Files went to the bathroom. Start eating, taking more calls. 20 minutes later, I'm like, man, did they get sick? I call them. Where they at? No answer. I check the bathroom. They left. They're like, you're such an asshole. You're so worried about the calls and business. We're trying to have dinner. You're disrespecting us. Clearly, your values are out of line. So again, when you're on the dates, fellas and ladies, and lady, and we're all the women. What's going on? When you're on the dates or you're with family, there's a time and a place. When you're a guarantee and you're so good at what you do and you bring that energy and that level of confidence to the deal, I promise you the deals will be there. So I was ignorant in the sense that I was giving up great opportunities that are in front of me to think that something better is along those lines. So something to think about, being really present. Again, that's why I said with the people you love and care about. Having fun is an anti. That's one thing too. So at the end of the day, and that's a good point, you got to have fun with what you're doing. So many people are serious about, we talk about investments, and I come from the Wall Street background. I worked on Wall Street for a little bit, and everything's super serious and stiff with ties, and nobody wants to be around people that are super stiff. You come in here, people are laughing, they're relaxed. That's the type of environment you want to be in. As you heard before, I run hikes. When you get people out of the element of being serious in a stiff environment, I mean, when you get into a bar and do meetups, a lot of you guys are leaders for your own organizations. One thing that works extremely well is doing activities together. You're creating a bond. You're creating a memory. You're building blood. So you're going to run your own meetups and engage with other people in whatever city you're in. Do anything that's important to you that you're passionate about. Because if you're doing something passionate about, it's going to come off as not authentic, right? You want to be authentic to you and always be you, For me, I like being outdoors. I like hiking. I like physical fitness. What I didn't realize was getting that blood flow going, get people up a mountain, even on a 30, 45-minute hike, people start relaxing, the blood's going, the juices, the energy. We went up to the top of the mountain. Everyone talks about words of inspiration or a quote. Shit, relationships were cultivated. Business is getting going. I just want to get people out to connect and, help mentor people, but it was far greater than I really didn't even have expectations. Really, I was like, hey, anyone want to hike and collaborate? And then it just evolved. I get asked all the time, when's the next hike? I'm like, is it that good? People love it. So again, have fun, get outside your element. Don't be in a stiff environment and good things will transpire. When things settle down. So I'm a firm believer. One of my things is if you're not filling your own cup up, you can't fill into others. So right now with my family stuff, I'm filling into my cup, my mom, my sisters, my dad. I got to be there for them. And after, there's some level of resolution, I can be, 100% attentive, then I'll lay back into the community. So in the interim, it's a very good question, then I'm going to get back into it. But I never want to engage or do something if I'm not going to be in it 100%. I'm a real person. There's no BS and always be real and authentic. That's why I just tell you, hey, this is what's going on. If someone doesn't accept you for that, fuck them. If they're not supportive, hey, that's on them, not on you. So this is really important. Being the anomaly. So many people talk about, oh, you got to do creative finance. Oh, let's talk about write-offs and taxes and let's make sure you're paying 0 in taxes. I'm an anomaly. And why? Multiple reasons. So I pay a lot of taxes because, again, playing the Iron Man game, going the long game. I want to be bankable. It's not that I want to pay taxes. We all make money. We're making a lot of money. You pay the taxes. When I walk into a bank, I wrap my stuff up like a Christmas gift. When I walk in here, here's my last year's taxes. Here's all my stuff. It's very transparent. I'm fully reporting all my tenants deposit into the account. I'm bankable. If you're writing everything off, I don't care how much unencumbered assets you have, they're not going to lend you not 1 cent because you can't show the documentation to support the debt. So be cognizant of that. Are you bankable? Are you playing the long game? Are you just trying to make a few bucks today? You're not thinking about 5 to 10 years. All my strategic moves, I built my wealth, a large majority of it, really in 10 years to get that levels. And the buy and hold started pretty much in 2009 and 10. So 12 years is because of bankability, transparency, full reporting. So don't listen to all these people, the tax shelter. Okay, so maybe you're saving the $20,000, $50,000 on taxes, but can you get leverage on your home, a car, on a vacation? Can you get lines of credit through banks? Excuse me. Super important. So for example, I know a lot of people, they make a few $1,000,000 a year, but they're not bankable. They went out and find their dream home, and unless they're going to sell or finance it to them, I don't want to be restricted by anybody or anything. So I want to buy what I want to buy when I want to buy it. I don't want to be contingent on multiple things like, oh, I have to get the seller to agree to this so I can do this. Again, to live a truly passive and enjoyable and the best life possible and do what you want when you want is the greatest form of freedom and success. So again, the long-term game plan and making sure those micro decisions you're making today will pay those future dividends. That's so important to me. Again, landlord versus slumlord. So many people, they just get a house. They're like, okay, I'm going to paint it. I'm going to just do the bare minimums. I'm going to make it look good. And I'm going to hope those tenants don't call me. I'm the opposite. That's what everyone wants to do. That's the slumlord mentality. I'm the real landlord mentality, spending the money to make the money, the Band-Aid versus the surgery. I spend all the money today to stabilize a good asset or anything that I invest in. I put it all my effort, all my energy, marketing, and of course the tangible stuff, the remodel, to ensure that the tenants are going to be happy. I'm going to mitigate those tenant calls. I have good economies of scale. Your crews are already there. Do it right the first time. The tenants don't want to be bothered. Your guys don't want to go back 20 times. It's ridiculous. It's a waste of energy. So again, do it right. We talked about bankability. Some people here have some multifamily units. That's great. Kyle and I have had this discussion. Single family works for me. Stay in your own lane all the time. Zach, why don't you own, 1,000 apartments? It's so much easier. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Again, call me the anomaly. One home at a time. It's worked. I'm not going to change my business model. I don't get, deflected by the, shiny object syndromes and material BS when I'm driving on the highway. I put my head down and stay in my own lane. Be the anomaly. If it's working for you, don't be deflected by other people's stuff. It's a great business. I personally believe there's greater appreciation in the single family individually than a lot of the multifamily. Unless you're in the larger multifamily, a good leverage. It's interesting, but right now multifamily is getting crushed, right? With interest rates, cap rates are completely compressed. But my single family, my rents continue to go up. And again, if you look at the general masses and being me authentically and looking at, again, Cromford report, people say, hey, there's downward pressure on rents. There's downward pressure on pricing. But when you're the anomaly and you have an amazing product, amazing service, happy tenants, people are going to have that high demand. You're always going to be in business because people are, engaged with your product, with your service, and it's desirable. And there's a limited amount of us being the anomaly versus the macro, the generalization of the slumlords. So be the good landlord, provide a great product, and take care of your people, treat them like family. You'll have the referrals, and you'll continue to raise rents because no one wants to move. When you treat somebody like a king or a queen, they're there forever, and I tell them too. I tell them when people move in, one of my secrets, listen, I'm happy to collect annuity of income on you. I don't use the word annuity. I'm happy to take your rent, but honestly, you should own this property. I'd love to see you own this. What landlord tells that to the tenants? Such a good move. And they're like, really? I said, yeah, listen, for what you're paying in rent, honestly, stabilize your stuff. I'll give you the first right to buy it. It's a great little secret for people to feel a vested interest, an equitable interest in that property to say, really? Because they're like, they never think that the dream of ownership, the dream of citizenship, the dream of whatever it is feasible. And all of a sudden you light a bulb and guess what's going to happen? They're going to start planting trees. They're going to start watering the grass. They're going to start maintaining that home because now they have a vested interest in that property. They're excited about the potential. And I've had a lot of people buy the houses. And guess what else they've done? Referred every one of their family members to me. So it's a great, source of income and, essentially in terms of the tenants. So the anomaly. What is what? Annuity of income means a stream of income, right? Like a rent. So if someone's paying $2,000 a month for rent, the annuity of income is $2,000 per month, $24,000 a year. So a hedge fund, you rent the house. Okay, what's the cap rate? You buy a $300,000, $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 gross. That's roughly 8% return. The annuity is an 8% return. It's an annuity. It's a consistent payment a level of income, a stream of income over a period of time, right? I don't like to treat it like that. I like to treat somebody, in the investment world, it's an annuity. To us, we say it's just rent, right? You treat them so they're not just a payment to you, they're just their family. You see the difference? To a hedge fund, there's no relationship. They're like, how much is this tenant over at 227, Pershing Street worth? Versus, oh, that's Jose Rivera. I know his family. I know his dog's name. This is what they pay. Totally different mindset. You're not an annuity of income. You're a family with needs, and I'm going to take care of you. Completely different mindset shift.
How do you get the renters into that mindset?
How do you get the renters into that mindset? By giving them number one, treating them like family. So you're not treating them like an annuity of like ignoring their calls or I'll get back to you right away or, slowing down and having personal relationships with them. All coming down to relationships, right? So I was saying Progress Residentials or these Blackstones, they don't get invited for Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas, but they'll invite me over because I don't treat them like an annuity of income. I treat them like family. So it all comes down to the fundamental relationships, respect, and communication. Again, marathon, not a sprint. One of the greatest guys, and I've read some of his books, who's read Warren Buffett, Buffettology, and of his stuff. Cool. Same thing. You see the trend, right? Ironman mentality, not the sprint. Look at Warren Buffett's net worth by age. Large majority is when he turned 50, 99% of his wealth. So I know that we're all hungry. We all want to have massive success and a lot of money tomorrow. But again, I've been doing this for 20 years. Everyone says, oh, how do I get to that? I want to do that tomorrow. Great. One home at a time, one lift at a time, eating the right, food, one bite at a time. Very simple process, but just keeping that long-term mindset. And he buys, again, we talk about marrying the house, dating the rate. I know you talked about, listen, you're getting 10 to 12% hard money and you're making 25% on your apartments. Great arbitrage play. Normally you'd get I never use hard money. I get my ass chewed, but we don't have 25% cash and cash returns. In that respect, you can pay it because you're confident in those tenants supporting that debt. Warren, he says, hey, I see a great asset, Dairy Queen. He buys quality assets that he understands. I don't buy anything that I don't do crypto. I think Bitcoin today hit 15 or 16,000. I don't even understand Bitcoin. I stay away from it. I like tangible assets. I like being the captain of my domain, and that's what real estate does for me. So Warren Buffett, again, he buys quality stuff that he understands. He's old school. If you look at his stocks, right, people don't day trade his stock. They're buying value over time. His stocks, he's got Berkshire Hathaway A, Berkshire Hathaway B. Those things trade at $100,000, $200,000 a share. You got these long-term, park in the money, sit and wait. Buy value, be patient. That's, again, the theme of anything that you do. If you buy value and you're patient and you treat it properly, good things are going to happen. Contingency planning. I love this, especially in today's environment. Every deal that I buy, I always want to have multiple exit strategies. I know a gentleman the other night talked about only have a plan A and there's no plan B. And, I didn't want to get into it, but with all respect, I think it's important to have plan A, plan B, plan C, D, E, F, G, and H. I'm the guy when the weather looks, perfect, I'm bringing the umbrella to the beach because I want to be prepared. When I'm going hiking, I'm bringing a backup cell phone. I'm bringing extra water. I'm bringing food. I don't know if I'm going to get stranded. Maybe I'll bring some extra shoes. I'm the guy thinking worst case scenario. I'm the guy that says, Jesse, can you project this? If it doesn't work, I printed out these damn presentations when you talk about contingency mindset because I want to make sure that I'm planning for success. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I want to make sure that there's a alternative option that's going to transpire. So in my deals right now that I'm buying in a down market, I'm not planning to flip a property. I'm planning to own that asset for 30 years. If I don't plan and want to own it, I'm not going to buy it. If I sell it, amazing, plan A. If I don't, plan B, I rent it. And, and then multiple are options that we'll get into. So you're always going to be successful when you can foresee and anticipate negative things transpiring and in advance plan for those. No matter what it is. Going back to the Ironman example, if I'm hungry, I'm going to make sure I got extra nutrition. If I'm thirsty, I got an extra bottle. If my coach says bring 4 bottles, I'll put the extra weight on my back and have 5, right? I'm going to plant an extra bag on the, 20th mile with, extra socks and a new pair of shoes. If I got 3 girls coming out to the Ironman, I'm going to call 10 to make sure I get the energy, make sure a couple don't show up and to get them excited and I'll be excited. So whatever it is, plan, for failure. And then anticipate that success coming, literally. Of course, you want to plan for success, but anticipate that failure transpiring so that you're always going to be successful in planning for the worst case scenarios. Huge. Again, family first, satisfying the people around you. So many people are worried about, hey, how do I buy 257 houses? First, you buy one and make sure that tenant is stabilized and happy. Again, my sister runs a company called Yelp. I'm sure you heard of them. Pete, you want the 5-star reviews. If you're given 3-star, 1-star, 2-star service, you're not going to build a business. Some people were so worried about next, but that's right in front of them. You satisfy the people, your tenants, your contractors, your title companies, your wholesalers, your agents, and making sure that they're all happy doing business with you. Then you worry about the next one. And also your investors, and we'll get into that too. Very, very important. But again, customers first, then start the scale. We spoke about this, the surgery versus patch. There's a big, again, spend the money, stabilize, then patch the wounds. Good visuals on there. Okay, raising capital and the power of OPM. Some people ask, Diego, how'd you do business? Well, either you have the money or you don't. When you don't, you do what's called sweat equity. And that's what I did early on. So it all starts from knowledge, what you need, being consultative, right? So my platform is real estate. I was always excited about. I engage people. I have good energy. I like to say, put yourself in a position to win the game. I work out at the most expensive gym. Why? Because there's high net worth investors there. When I travel, I'm going to sit hopefully by the people in first class and say, hey man, what do you do? What's going on? Or you sit at a bar, you go to the nice restaurants and have a drink. Engage people. You can't be fearful. We're only here once. Nobody really gives a shit. Talk to people and don't be fearful and lead with value. When I'm raising money, I always ask people, it's not about, hey man, I'm looking to raise this. Hey, what do you doing? Right? You never lead off with what you need. You want to engage them. What are their needs? Yeah. So I always say, what's your liquidity? What do you invest in currently? Oh, you're in money market. What does that yield? Oh, 1/2 of a point, 1/4 of a point. Okay. Immediately I can sell them in 30 seconds because I know that you have $2 million in a money market of 1/4%. When I could give somebody right now 7% with my eyes closed, right? Prime's close to that. So they're losing to inflation. So when you ask them, how much money do you looking to invest? Let me tell you about what I do. And if you're coming in, going back to energy again, this is all going to recycle to you. You're like, yeah, I'm in real estate. There's some opportunity out there. You think anyone's going to invest in me? Fuck no. Same respect when I'm always asking people, do you know any high net worth investors or people looking to place private money in real estate? Very simple question, very direct. Do you know any high net worth or any investors looking to place money in an alternative investment vehicle for whatever niche your business is in? Everyone's going to say, people are always looking for opportunities. They always want to know what's out there. And if we're not enthusiastic, if we're not excited, if we're not knowledgeable and we don't understand the macro versus the micro of those businesses and the ins and outs, you shouldn't be raising money. They're going to flop. What's your time frame? What's your expected yield? Everyone wants different things. Hey, I offer equity in deals or I offer private, yields, right? Hey, or preferred returns. Are you comfortable with 7%? Maybe 7%. Oh, you want to take equity in there? We can make 30% each, but understand we could potentially lose. It's all about engaging those people, being consultative, understanding each person's needs. The first time the market took a dump, and I was great at what I did, and I was like, hey, what am I going to do? I don't know. The market's going down. I'll just do Ironman for a couple of years and turn pro. Well, that didn't happen. My buddy says, Zach, you're great at real estate. You're great at what you do. Stick to it. And I appreciate that. It's the power of being around people that want to see you elevate and be amazing at your craft and your skill. So I went out and I raised a $25 million distressed asset fund when I could buy houses for $30,000. What I realized was by adding a bunch of people. And so every person that I met from the airports, vacations, gyms, saunas, steams, I'm talking to people all the time. You want to be the mayor, engage people, put them in your phone. My phone is my success. People overanalyze systems and processes and all this shit. I could tell you, my sister helped me with the PowerPoint presentation, right? I was all my stuff. I told her, hey, make this thing look pretty. This is my points. And she did it. The point is, I run my business from my phone. People overcomplicate things. If you're great at what you do, you bring good energy, good confidence, and good execution, you're a guarantee. Good things are going to happen. So taking that consultative engagement, all the people that I met from my experiences before came to a culmination for this fund. I would take people to coffee or, a burger and tell them, hey, this is what I've done for the past 5 years. This is the opportunity at hand. This is what's going on. And I'd love the opportunity to work with you in a joint venture to create a win-win situation. I love the word win-win, right? We're at each other's interest at hand. The other thing is what I did was on my fund, it was a 50-50 model, which was great. Everyone's got different models. Again, preferred returns or equity. In this case, it was equity, right? So I'm not guaranteeing anything. Guaranteeing is I'm going to give you 100% of my effort, and what's called human capital. I was the one using my time, my energy, my resources, my relationships, and they were putting up the leverage, also their capital, OPM, other people's money. And it's amazing, right? I'd say, hey, what do you want to invest? What's your time period? I have all these assets. Here's the history of what I've done. and this is what I would project, right? But I always keep it low, and I'd always make sure that I outperform what I would say. You never want to start high and come in low. People are going to be disappointed. The other thing is I like doing it on a one-off basis. So I'd match one investor to a home. What I realize is aggregating funds together. No one would be excited if I took a home for 30,000, I flipped it for 75, and I put in 15, 45, let's say I gross $30,000, but I have 50 people in there. So we each get $800. No one's going to be excited about an $800 return. Is after taxes, $500, all the K1s and the accounting, it became very complex. Go out there and find yourself a couple, 3, 4, 5 amazing long-term investors that you continue to engage and give opportunities from, right? It's so much cleaner. It's much easier. Maintain those relationships with them. And again, how did I get my largest investors? This is a great story. By projecting, and we're going to get into this. So I was doing a cross-sell like you. I'm also vertically integrated. I'm a licensed agent. I was doing a cross-sell for my buddy. I said to the agent, I said, do you know any high net worth investors? And I knew that she did because I knew where she lived. She lived in Silverleaf, which is the highest, one of the most in Arizona. So she says, sure. And that's how I differentiate. It's point of differentiation. That's why I ask you guys the question. I want to know yours. But again, being consultative, being engaging, being memorable, having fun. Those are my points of differentiation. So I asked the agent, do you know any high net worth investors? And she said, I sure do. And I said, I'm looking to sell some notes because I was doing some seller finance stuff. So she introduced me to this guy. He lived out of state. He called me. Hey, I hear you have some notes. What are you selling? I tell him I was engaging. Yep. Oh, where are you from? Because I'm from Michigan. I said, oh, me too. That's crazy. How cool. We have a basic conversation. I'll send you over the notes. I'll check it out. Send you some pictures of the assets because I got to meet you. I'm like, okay, I know nothing about this guy other than he's from Michigan, right? I don't want to be too nosy. So he flies out, and most people, they'd pick him up in probably, maybe a limo or a Lincoln car and put on the suit and tie. No. You'll see. I brought my energy. I picked him up in my Ford Explorer Sport right there. I was authentic and transparent and real. I didn't play to be hey, I came from Wall Street. Here's my tie. I'm stuck up. No, man, this is who I am. This is what I do. I care about making money. I treat people well. I care about your protecting your assets. This is what I've been through before in terms of investing with other people. And this is my expectations of you. And this should be your expectations of me. Within 2 hours, the guy says, I want to buy all your notes on one condition. So what's that? He goes, I want to invest in your company. I was like, wow, I really appreciate that. But why? He goes, you're just down to earth. You're authentic. You're real. He knew I wasn't trying to be somebody I wasn't. I showed him my game plan. I invited him out. Put him into my real life without I was like, sorry about the water bottles on the floor, right? He's like, bouncing around there. I didn't even I could have probably washed the car, but I think he liked that because he's like, this guy's not a joker. He's down to business and he's real. So I was being vulnerable with them. I didn't make up any BS. I didn't misrepresent anything. I said, this is my past. This is what I've done. Here's some poor investments I made, and this is how we can protect yourself. So super, super important. Again, very consultative, and his needs and my needs, or whoever your investors are, it's all about the consultation, and you're just matching it, right? We got the skill sets. We're the captains. We're always in control. Other people may have the money, but we're making the decisions. And so when are we going to sell? What are we going to buy? What are we going to do to it? How are we going to enhance it? We are the people that make it all happen. And so make sure you have that versatility. Super important. So going back to the OPM thing, super important for growth and scalability. No one has unlimited money. And one thing that I'll say going back to that with the OPM is, even right now, I'm self-funded, but I still put some of my investors in deals here and there on a flip or a hold for them, because guess what? You never know when you're going to need them. And I say this all the time, out of sight, out of mind. Respect the people that got you where you're at. And maybe someone brings me $100 million deal. I couldn't do a $100 million deal tomorrow solo. But with a couple people, you're damn right I can. By the way, that guy that invested in my company, turns out he owned a NASCAR company, an oil company. The guy was one of the largest investors in Michigan. Right place, right time. But I put myself in that position to win the game. If you're staying home, if you're sitting behind the computer, you're not getting out there, you're not rubbing shoulders, you're not going belly to belly, it ain't going to happen for you. So I'll credit, what does Snoop say? I like to thank myself, I'd like to thank myself for putting myself, in the position to win the game. So thank yourself when you're in the gym, you're in the cold plunge, for being here, for rubbing shoulders with very affluent, intelligent, go-getters. It's super important. Let's talk about the volatile market, and I'll tell you, it's kind of interesting. So again, when the market's going down, which it did in 2007 and 8 at a rapid pace, right now it's completely different. We're in a down market and going obviously into a recession. But what did I do? People are like, what did you do? Well, one thing is I got smart. How did I get smart? I didn't sit on ceremony worrying about what people think of me, right? I didn't care about these fancy cars. I didn't care about what other people thought. I built a beautiful home in DC Ranch. What I did, I immediately rented it out to a hockey player. I was like, fuck this. The market's going down. I want to shelter my income. I didn't sit on ceremony. I didn't get emotional. I literally said, what's the highest and best use of this property? I did buy, as a stuck up, girl, the fancy Mercedes, sold the Mercedes. I think I paid $113,000 SL 500 design new edition car. Yeah, here's my ride. Nobody cared, but I got it for myself, but it was cool. Barely drove it, but I sold it. I sold it for $23,000 and bought a house at the bottom of the market for $30,000. That house is now worth $400,000 and that car today is probably worth 15. So that was a good trade, I think. But I immediately, again, I wasn't worrying about impressing people. I cut my expenses. I moved my parents at another home. I lived in one of their houses. I went to the gym. I worked on, again, depositing to my primary bank account first to make sure that my business account would reap those rewards after. I wanted to make sure that during those time periods, again, wind at your back, we're all super, wind at your back. Again, now you need a parachute at the track. When wind is behind you, of course, anyone's successful. So during those times, what do you do? Now in today's market, I want to be the best product in the market. I want to buy deeper. I want to take all emotions out of it. I want to be calm. I want to buy, again, by working out and cleaning my mind and making sure I'm buying sound investments and thinking about, we'll get into my 4 factors that are coming up. I hired a designer. I want to make sure my designs are the best. I'm not missing anything. I want to delegate the things that I'm not the best at to make sure I'm bringing the best and highest product, being consultative to the buyers, engaging agents, and being proactive versus reactive. Very important. In all your businesses, a lot of people are very reactive in a good market. So how can you be proactive? How do you make your phone ring if it ain't ringing? You get out there and make that shit ring, knock doors, call agents, talk to title companies, showing up at events, rubbing shoulders, being proactive on social media. Even if you're not buying, you can still talk about deals. You could talk about the market. You can bring value. Again, going back to out of state, out of mind with your private investors, same mentality, even if you're not buying or doing anything. Be top of mind. How do you get top of mind? Being funny, being, the Dove guy looking, 21 years old at 29, talk about machinery operations, talk about dogs, talk about other stuff that doesn't have to be business, guys. People find that boring if you're all just about business. Be authentically you and bring something unique approach to it so people are remembering you and they'll tie that into whatever your business is. That's really my major secrets. And understanding during the downtime to be educated, understanding all the options. Before it was, hey, buy a house, flip it, make a bunch of money. It'll be a cash buyer, sell to a hedge fund. Now, what are we doing? Lease purchases, lease options, seller finance, sub 2, renting, all these different strategies. So whatever business you're in now, make sure that you understand all these different alternatives so you can help your clients, you can help yourself, you can help your investors, and be very versatile and adaptive to the market conditions. Okay. Again, the referral business, taking care of your people, being positive, consultatively understand both people's needs, your tenants, your buyers, your investors. Delight your customers all the time. Even if your tenant's in there, I call my tenants randomly, just check on them. It's amazing. People think, hey, set it and forget it. What was that toaster oven thing? Set it, forget it. What was that shit? Set it and forget it. People do the same thing with their properties or investments. It's amazing. I guarantee a lot of you who invest in equities right now in Wall Street. Anyone have a portfolio of stocks? Okay. What are you doing with it right now? Did you set it and forget it? Have you heard from your advisor? Are you self-managing? What are you doing? Okay. Okay, good. So you're dollar cost averaging. We'll get into that. So for me, I don't set it and forget it. I want to engage the people. If I'm driving by one of my houses, I'll knock on the door and say hello. So many people take that passive approach versus the proactive, the reactive and the proactive. Be proactive, engage the people all the time. You're already there. You're going to get a benefit by being top of mind. Stop by and say hello. I just want to say hi. See how you're doing. Is there anything that you need? If they don't call you, people love that. Be the anomaly in whatever business you're in. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. I talk about the Iron Man, the chess versus checkers mentality. Play the long game, and that's solidified through solid relationships. Let's talk about my 4 of acquisitions in a down market. I say to myself, if I'm getting presented an opportunity, will this be a legacy property? Again, I talk about if I'm going to own this, I'm going to buy it. Do I want to own this for 5, 10, 30 years? Do I want my dog or future grandkids or kids to own this? If the answer is no, immediately no, I'm out. So that's really, really important. And also we talk about potential usage. Can I buy this? And maybe it's a home up in Flagstaff that can be a rental, but then maybe one day I want it as a second home. So what's the utility of that asset? Does it serve more than one purpose? Very important. Number two, what's the cash on cash return of this asset? Very, everyone complicates it. So I'm using leverage. What's my cash on cash return? Cash on cash return is not, I'm not using leverage. I'm talking straight cash. Meaning if I buy a house for $300,000, we go into annuity of income. We'll use the same example, $2,000 a month. That brings in $24,000. The cash on cash gross is 8. You're probably only getting 6.5 after taxes, insurance, HOA, whatever that may be. Does that make sense? So if that deal in today's market is going to bring less than 8 to 10, if you have good leverage with any banks right now, my lines of credit in prime 6.75. Why would I buy a deal that's going to give me 7%? Terrible. Unless there's massive equity in there, which we'll get into that. So equity, so you can refinance that and use those money multiple times. So I really want to emphasize, if you're not getting a good cash on cash, don't buy to think you're going to get appreciation. Crazy, right? Make sure that you're getting a good spread between whatever you're borrowing at. In his case, in Diego's case, he was getting even at hard money, which is nuts, but it's not nuts in his case because it works because he has such a big spread on that. At 25, he could borrow money at 15% and still be healthy. It's risky if those people didn't service the debt, but as long as he's comfortable with those tenants and he's vetted them and it's a conservative, he could replace those tenants and still get that 25% yield, you're good. But again, if your cost of capital is 7, you're getting 8, you're buying to make a 1% spread. So take the emotions out of it. So many people get attracted to deals based on what's the litmus test? How does it feel? I drove the neighborhood. It's a sexy house. Yeah, but what is it really paying you? Does it make sense to borrow at 7? If everything goes good, you're going to make 8%? Hell no. Unless maybe you have $100,000 of real solid great equity in there. Maybe. But otherwise, make sure you're getting a 3 or 4% spread based on your leverage or whatever your borrowing power is on there. But in order to determine that, just use the cash on cash model to determine the litmus test first, and then go into the leverage situation and arbitrage. When I say arbitrage, that's really the difference between what you're borrowing at and what your actual yield is. Equity after the remodel. I love this. So again, how can I grow and scale my business? I utilize my homes that have equity. I'll pledge them to the bank, get a line of credit on them, go buy new deals. If I go out and buy, again, I like using the simple aspect, $300,000 house and I put $50,000 into it, but it's worth $450. I'm into it for $350. I have $100,000 in equity. What's $350 divided by $450? What percent do I have on that? Anybody? $350 divided by $450. What's the number? 0.7. Okay, call it 0.7. I think it's a little bit more, but let's call it 0.7. Let's say I can go to the bank and get a loan at 80% of actual value. What's going to happen on that deal? The bank's going to lend me 80% of the actual value of that asset. What's going to happen? Do you know?
You're getting a little bit more.
That's exactly right. Okay, but guess what? So all the money I just bought that house for cash, I put leverage on it. Not only am I going to get my original principal, I'm going to get 10%. Let's say it's 70 and the banks are going to loan me 80%. Right now, banks are lending, by the way, about 65% of the loan to value. So again, most of the deals, you'll get a large majority of your money back if you're buying really well. The beautiful power of that is being bankable, pledging that deal that has equity to commercial refinance. So what I do is I'll aggregate multiple homes, get a valuation on them, and the banks will then refinance, so I'll create new lines. So effectively, I'm recycling the same dollars. It's a beautiful model for scaling, not worrying about OPM. It's a great way to self-scale your business by all those things I talked about: transparency, taxes, bankability, buying, quality assets, the Warren Buffett, methodology, buy and hold and be patient. So that's how I built my business, really strategically using great banking relationships, buying good assets, making valuable decisions in terms of the micro decisions. Here, Big D knows about putting money into an Airbnb. So there's a lot of dumb things you can do and some good things. You don't want to put, $50,000 window package if the appraiser is going to give you a $4,000 credit. You don't need to put a $100,000 kitchen in a $300,000 house. So many people operate on, this is beautiful. Does it conform to the neighborhood? Does it make sense? For every dollar in, do I get $1.10 or $1.50 or $2 out? That's a very, good way of deciding each micro decision into an asset and how can you scale all the way down from these micro decisions on improvements. Very, very important.
The third point, do you think it's time to reach equity after remodeling because it needs some capital?
No, I don't think it. Does it take time to create the equity?
Yeah, equity after remodeling because that's difficult to do in the initial stage.
Well,
I didn't appreciate it much.
That's the beauty of buying extremely well. So if I'm not buying for appreciation. Of course, that's great. That's the gravy. Again, with my contingency plan, I'm buying on today's value. So if the property value is 450, but I'm buying it at 3, I already have in 150 gross spread. I'm putting in 50. I already know at that point I have 100 in equity and I can pledge it to the bank immediately today's value. I'm not waiting for that home to appreciate to 450 because we're not paying retail, right? If it's not a steal, it ain't a deal, baby. So make sure that you're buying steals, right? You're buying diligent. You're working out in the morning. You say to yourself, fucking feel good. My mind is clear. Let me run some real good comparables. Or you call Kyle. He's like, yeah, back you up. These are good deals. You're in. Buying with equity today and a lot of equity. So I'm taking 10% off today's value, buying even deeper. Then you can refinance to grow exponentially. Very important. Does that make sense? So yes, it'll take time to stabilize the remodel. It could take a month or 2 months and you have to factor in carrying. But you have all this great equity at the end. Even if the market corrects 10% at 450, you're now at 405 and you're in at 350, you still have pretty good equity in there. It's not amazing, but you still have 10, 15%. So if you refi, you still have skin in the game at that point, but you could still recycle those dollars and go more. Does that make sense? Cool. And then my last one that nobody talks about, which I think is a great secret weapon, is if you can buy an asset today cheaper than replacement cost, you think there's massive value there? Huge. So I've created these 4 pillars. You won't see them anywhere else. I authentically did it. Snoop, I like to thank myself. No, I'm just kidding. So if you can buy cheaper than replacement costs, I think that's a really good litmus test on getting a good deal. Mitigating inflation. You know, obviously if we're going up the market, cost of capital, everything, and cost of goods is 8 to 10%, you're buying significantly less than that. By default, you've got good long-term value there. So again, I'll use a Wall Street mentality. They buy 1980 and newer homes without pools and solar, with tile roofs. If it costs $150 a foot to build, let's call a 2,000 square foot home, that's $300,000 just construction costs plus land at $350. If I can buy that deal at $300 or under than that, that's incredible. You can't go build that house. There's huge value there. So I love that. It's kind of, I mean, number one, if I don't want to own it, I don't want to own it. None of them are important. But then if it hits all 4 of those pillars, there's no emotion in my business. I'm not like, oh, I'm feeling good today, I'm going to buy. You know, I'm not playing the game of roulette. We're making very good, very decisive decisions to determine how to build our good strategic wealth for that passive income. So I think these are a good foundation to implement in your real estate business or whatever business you're in. Come up with the pillars so it takes away the emotion of guessing. Okay. I love this. Who's running the business? I always say, so coming from the Wall Street background, investing in equities and whatnot, the institutions move the equity markets. Does everyone agree with that? Okay. Who, you know, in real estate, it's tangible. Equities, they're on paper. You get a stock certificate, whatever it is. There's nothing there. But in real estate, we're the captain. We can rent it. We can sell it. We can lease purchase it. We can control it. We can control pretty much the relationships with our tenants. I love that. We can also control our ability to raise capital. We can control the joint venture opportunities, those win-win situations. We're in complete control of everything that we do. We in business of something we don't have control. That's the beautiful thing about why I love real estate. I think it's the greatest investment in the world. 98% of my net worth is in real estate. 1.2% in cannabis and, hopefully 1% in the growth house. Hopefully 10% in the growth house. I believe in that. He's like, okay, let's go. Let's talk. Let's scale. So again, making sure you're the captain of your domain in whatever you're doing. You're always in control.